The usual mummy business. London. Rain. A mansion with a secret. London drank the night in big gulps. The light of the lanterns drowned in the puddles like unspoken phrases, and the rain drummed on the roofs as if to remind us that the city was not sleeping, it was listening. I, Alex Riley, didn't believe in curses, only in wine, truth, and well-tied knots. But this evening, I was offered a case that smelled of sand, death, and money. Simon Archer's mansion is a private Victorian-style museum, 5 floors of marble and arrogance. And inside, there's the Mysteries of Egypt exhibition. So, Max, did you feel the vibrations of the pharaohs? I asked, getting out of the car and slamming the door. Yeah, especially when the valet asked for a tip for cursing, he muttered. Max was displeased from the start. First of all, he was wearing a suit. 2, we were late. Third, a mummy is not the most reliable client. Why are we here? The request came from Simon Archer, billionaire, NIB, collector, and rumored to be the man with his fingers in so many deals that the deals themselves don't know where their end is. And then it all happened too fast. The ritual expert, Professor Hale, approached the sarcophagus, said something. No one heard the words. Just his voice, as if from the dungeon, and he fell. Abruptly, as if someone had pulled the thread from his life. The crowd gasped. Someone shouted. Layla ran up first. She was followed by Alex and Max. No pulse. Pupils glazed. But most importantly, sand. On my lips. On her fingers. And the body is bent like a doll that's been thrown in a bad way. It's not a heart attack, Alex said. What? The guard snorted. It's a play, he replied quietly, and the professor was not an audience. Later, in the mansion's library, the downpour drummed on the glass. The window fogged up. The room smelled of leather, tobacco, and mystery. Cameras? Alex asked. He was in the center of the hall, like a speck of sunshine among the shadows. Riley, he said, hello. Thank you for coming. We're having an opening night here. There's press, scientists, a couple of earls, and a minister with a phobia of sand. Why so paranoid? I asked. Because among the exhibits is a tomb. He nodded at the huge sarcophagus on display in the center. And it seems that someone doesn't want it opened. The sarcophagus was impressive. Stone, carvings, gold. Symbols I didn't read, but which clearly screamed something. And someone sent the threat, I clarified. Twice. First the letter, then the broken window. Yesterday, 2 guards quit. Today, no cameras after midnight. Too many coincidences. Max was already trotting his eyes around the hall. There's an Egyptologist on the left. Layla Amin. She looks like a man who hasn't slept for a 3rd night. And at the door is a man with glasses and would sell everyone for PR, written on his forehead. I grinned. And you say you don't like museums. The evening went according to plan until it went to hell. About 9:47 p.m., all eyes were fixed on Dr. Hugh Lawrence, an expert on ancient rituals, who was just talking about the curse of Queen Hatshepsut. Legend has it that whoever disturbs her sleep will die before the sun. Touches the horizon, he said dramatically, raising his wine glass. Even the AI would have given up, I whispered to Max. And then he fell. No sound, no scream, just like a cut thread. There's sand on my lips. There's a cramp on his arm. On his face is a fear that seems to have come out of the sarcophagus itself. Everyone froze. Max put 2 fingers up to his neck. No pulse. Death was officially ruled a heart attack. But I knew it wasn't just a heartfelt one. It was a message. And, as usual, it was left for me. A stranger's voice from the dark. London, Simon Archer's mansion. Evening. The sky seems to have poured tons of liquid steel on the city. And inside, everything sparkles like a jewelry store window where every face is a mask and every glass of champagne is a distraction. Alex Riley was standing at the column from where the whole room was visible. He wasn't drinking, he was watching. In a crowd like this, noise is music to those who are hiding something. But silence in the midst of noise is a signal. Nervous? Max asked, looking up at the ceiling. Decorated with frescoes from the series Ancient Egypt through the eyes of an artist who wasn't there. I'm in a suit, Max. That's suspicious, Alex muttered. And all these people look like they could afford an army of lawyers and their own handmade coffin. In the center of the hall stood a sarcophagus, framed in gold, inlaid with rare stones. The inscription on the tablet read, Tomb of an Unknown Priestess, 28 Dynasty. Did you see Layla Amin's face when Archer said the sarcophagus was 3,000 years old? Max whispered. Like a teacher when a student says the square root of -2. Anger, contempt, and a secret longing for vacation. Layla was one of the few people who seemed sincere, or faked it well. Egyptologist. Pure science. Too pure for everything else that was going on around her. And then, it all happened too fast. The ritual expert, Professor Hale, approached the sarcophagus, said something. No one heard the words. Just his voice, as if from the dungeon. And he fell. Abruptly, as if someone had pulled the thread from his life. The crowd gasped. Someone shouted. Layla ran up first. She was followed by Alex and Max. No pulse, pupils glazed, but most importantly, sand on my lips, on her fingers, and the body is bent like a doll that's been thrown in a bad way. It's not a heart attack, Alex said. What? The guard snorted. It's a play, he replied quietly. And the professor was not an audience. Later, in the mansion's library, the downpour drummed on the glass. The window fogged up. The room smelled of leather, tobacco, and mystery. Cameras? Alex asked. Suddenly shut down 5 minutes before the incident, the guard replied. System overload. Or an overload of lies, Max said. They went through the guest list. No one saw anything. No one heard anything. But everyone was now worried about the curse. Typical disguise, scare everyone with something ancient and mysterious, and no one will think that murder is a very modern thing. On the stairs, Alex noticed a figure, female, a maid, quietly descending, looking around. You know something, he said when they were alone. She nodded. Her hands trembled. Last night, someone was in the hall. A rustle. The sarcophagus was open. And then, sand. Sand on the floor by the door. Alex looked at Max. There's someone in the house playing antiquity, but it's pretty damn accurate. In the morning, the mansion. The guests are leaving the house. The press is already on the porch. Reporters buzzing like flies over sugar. Alex walks back to the sarcophagus, looks at it silently. Max is standing next to me. Do you believe in curses? Alex takes out a cigarette, flicks the lighter. Number, but I do believe in people who would kill to make others believe. And somewhere in the distance, a voice again. Not human, not ancient. Recorded from the speaker inside the sarcophagus. I see you. Max shuddered. Alex grinned. Well, Max.it looks like the tomb has decided to talk. Lies, mummies, and millions. Simon Archer's mansion. The morning after his death, the world outside still believes it was a heart attack. Inside, a new legend is born. One where death loves the entourage and speaks in a sarcophagus voice. Max was drinking coffee. His third. No sugar, no milk. As proof that he was still alive. Who turns off the cameras 5 minutes before they die, he asked. Someone who likes symmetry, Riley answered. He stood at the window, smoking a cigarette overlooking the garden, where a gardener with a dead man's face was tending the flowers. Professor Hale died strangely. The sand on your lips is not from a museum. The cameras are off. From the speaker of the sarcophagus came a voice that sounded like randomness. Alex returned to the exhibition hall. Layla Amin was standing in front of a display case with amulets. She was nervously rubbing the chain around her neck. She had the look of someone who knew more than she said, but less than she wanted to know. Dr. Amin, I have a simple question, Alex began. This curse, was it part of the exhibit? Number, there were no recordings or speaker equipment inside the sarcophagus. That's a breach of protocol. And the sand? The desert, Egypt, atmosphere. They poured it themselves. For, entourage. Who's they? She mewed. Simon Archer. His team. I wasn't involved. And I didn't approve. The curse has become a brand. But brands don't kill. People do. Attention to detail. A guest went missing last night. James Rodell, an American producer known for his passion for antiquities and young models. He was here to shoot a documentary. Now his room is empty. He was found the next morning. In the fountain, bandaged eyes. In his hand is an ancient amulet. There's blood on the amulet. Alien. What does that mean? Max asked. It means, Alex replied, that now we don't just have a death. We have a series. And someone is putting on a show. Analysis of the amulet revealed not a copy. The real one. Stolen from another facility. Recorded as part of an expedition in 2009 at Giza. And that's where Archer got into trouble. Simon Archer and mud on patent shoes. Did you know that this amulet was reported missing in Egypt? Riley asked in the study. I didn't steal anything. There may have been a mistake in the paperwork. Or is it in your conscience? Archer poured himself a brandy. Too much for a confident man. You don't understand how archaeology works with private money. Everything is gray, like sand in the shadow of the pyramids. Max was silently taking notes, his fingers clenched. You think this murder is connected to the dig? I think someone used your lust for fame to cover their tracks. To put not the queen in the sarcophagus, but the evidence. And that's when Riley said, what if the tomb isn't ancient and the body in it isn't thousands of years old? And Layla Emmon, standing in the doorway, turned pale as if the sarcophagus had just blinked. Chapter 4. The past is not silent. London, Archer Mansion, the third day after the professor's death. The air has the smell of coffee, lies, and something that should have been left in the sand long ago. There was silence in the museum, not from the absence of people, but from their tense expectation. Like before a storm, when even the walls seemed to hold their breath. Alex Riley sat in the mansion's archive room, leafing through documents that no one was officially supposed to see. These excavations. He put the folder in front of him. Why is the year 2012 everywhere, but in one protocol, the date May 2021? Max looked over the top of his glasses. Maybe someone made a typo? Or correcting the past. When the past is too clearly rewritten, it usually lies. Inside was a list of artifacts, and next to it, a note. Item 17, mummified body to be transported. But the strangeness was different. Name, unknown, age, undetermined. Pathologic findings, not indicated. Where is the autopsy report? Alex asked. Absent, Layla replied, standing in the corner of the room. She looked like someone who had just been pulled out of a time vortex. Layla, Riley said, I don't believe in curses, but I do believe in mummies and that someone switched out the real mummy. She sat down quietly, almost settled down. You're right, she said. Max looked up. What? The real mummy wasn't allowed to leave. It stayed in Egypt. In its place, we used a fake one to keep the show going, to justify the expense. Who's we? Asked Alex sharply. Layla looked up. Archer, his handler, and me, under duress. But I didn't know that the sarcophagus wasn't just a copy. There was a body in there. Whose? A woman. Unknown. Deceased. Body structure suggests no more than a year ago. Max exhaled. So, someone used the entire museum to get rid of the body? Alex nodded. And under the guise of a curse, he hid the murder in Golden Legend. Later tonight, Alex and Max were once again in the hall with the sarcophagus. No lights this time, just flashlights. Like in a cave where the truth hides behind shadows. Alex ran his finger along the edge of the sarcophagus. Could have been a play, it could have been a publicity stunt, but someone replaced the fake with a body. Max looked around the amulet stand. And this. He pulled one out. Not a copy. The original. Missing in Luxor. Case from 2019. Alex took the amulet in his gloved hand. Someone put together a whole exhibit of evidence. And right there in the darkness, a shadow stared back at them. It's not fear in her eyes. Cold. Calculation. You're not supposed to be here, she said. That was the curator of the exhibition, Clara Maines. We're here because someone decided to use the past. To replace the present, Raleigh replied. Clara nodded, but a shiver slipped into her voice. You don't understand. It was more than a switch. It was a ritual. And it had an author who... Not me, she whispered, but he is. One of us. The next step is forensics on the body, and Raleigh knows what it's going to show. But the important thing isn't the test, it's the motives. Someone wanted to get rid of a woman, but they did it too theatrically, which means they wanted to be noticed. Or for Riley to find him. Chapter 5. Checkmate on Black Sand. The forensics building in Chelsea smelled of formalin and a truth many would like to discard. Alex Riley stood against a glass wall, behind which was a table, a body, and gloved experts. Max was drinking coffee from a machine that could have been a weapon of mass destruction. The body in the sarcophagus is not ancient, said the pathologist. Female, age 35 to 40. Died no more than a year ago. Cause of death by strangulation. There are traces of silk cord around the neck. Now, pay attention. He put a package on the table. Inside was a ring with the emblem of the archaeological mission, Archer Expedition, 2012. Giza, you mean she was one of them? Max asked. Or connected, but definitely not random. Alex nodded. The thought that had been in his head for a long time was now coming out clearly. It wasn't an exhibit, it was a grave. We turned to Archer Mansion. Layla Amin waited by the stairs, pale. Her hands are gloved, even though it's not winter. I knew her, she said, looking down at the floor. Her name was Mira. She was a student, a brilliant one. Left after a scandal on an expedition. Then she disappeared. Who was the scandal? Clara Maines and Simon Archer. Max let out a curse. Did they kill her? No, Riley replied. They had their backs, or they were pawns. But someone had already figured it out, and now he'd set the stage. Or almost all evidence led to the 2012 excavation. Everyone who was on the scene at the time either went silent or disappeared. Riley pulled out an old protocol. There are 5 names here. Only 2 are alive today. Max looked at the map. 1 is Clara. 2nd, wait, name changed. The real name of Archer's handler is Henry Marlowe. Alex froze. Henry Marlowe died in 2013, drowned in Egypt. It's official. Max frowned. So our handler is someone who took his identity? Or who came back to finish what they started? Later, the museum. Evening excursion. The crowd held his breath. The lecturer's voice is deep, confident, and as legend has it, the curse comes to life if you disturb the ashes of a grate. At that moment, there's a click. A locket falls out of the sarcophagus. It's old, with initials. Alex runs up first, picks it up. He looks. There are prints on the medallion. The prints match with Archer's recently missing assistant, but the name is a false name. The real one is Edward Hale, Professor Hale's brother. He didn't die in Egypt, Riley said. He just went into the sand and became a shadow. Max added. Final chapter. Bar. All the contestants are assembled. Alex places the amulet, locket, and photo on the table. Someone wanted to hide the body, but they did it in a way that everyone would remember. Because he's not the killer. He's the director. He looks around at everyone. Mira was a victim, but her death was the beginning. And now, we know who set the mark. Max pulls out a clipboard. The cameras went off an hour early the night of the murder. And someone forgot that modern technology doesn't believe in curses. The face in the footage is not a professor, not Archer, and the man no one knew until Riley pulled up the archives for 2012. Welcome back, Henry, or what's your name now? Chapter 6, Listen to the Dust. London, Archer Mansion. It's night. All the guests are in the bar. Outside, it's raining. Inside, the truth can no longer be hidden under a layer of gold and sand. Alex Riley stood at the counter, a glass of bourbon, cigarette in hand. Max was opposite, flipping through the records like a DJ picking up the soundtrack to an expose. So Alex began. Who's Henry Marlowe? A dead archaeologist? Or a master forger who came back from the sands to put the finishing touch? Facts. Henry Marlowe drowned in 2013. No photos of the body, just the certificate. One of the survivors is Hale's brother. Mira was connected to the excavation. Someone replaced her with a mummy to cover their tracks. The cameras that were turned off the night of the murder were under the control of Archer's assistant that no one checked. His name isn't Tom Bishop, Riley said. It's an alias. He disappeared from all systems in 2014. Right after Henry was killed, Max flipped through the last file. Showed the photo. It's him. It's the same person. Henry's alive. He outplayed everyone. First, death. Then a new identity. And finally, back in disguise for revenge. Confrontation. Riley approached the man by the fireplace. He was calm, even grinned. That's right, Riley. Except you got one thing wrong. And what? It wasn't revenge. Alex tensed. It was, justice. You killed Mira. She was a victim of the system. I showed that the system can fall on itself. And Professor Hale, he knew. He was silent. He is part of the lie. And Rodell, he wanted to do the show. I did the finale. Max stepped closer. And you planned the whole thing? Since 2012. I've gone into the shadows. I became dust and then poured it back in. Right in the eyes of all those pseudo-scientists, collectors, rich people. Riley nodded. Do you know what the dust says? The man marveled. She says, I was here before you, and I'll be here after. At that moment, the police entered the hall. Henry did not resist. He only said, you can arrest me, but you won't kill the memory. Final. A pub in Soho. Max was sitting by the window. Alex was drinking black coffee. The curse was the body. The ashes were the truth. And the mummy, just a rapper. Legend for the media. And him, Henry, not a killer, not a victim. He's the catalyst. Without him, we'd never know how rotten everything is. Max nodded. So what now? Alex smiled. We're listening to the dust now, Max. What's she saying? Alex lit a cigarette. That it starts with silence and ends with a gunshot. The figure, the smoke, and the kiss of lies. London. January. The cold is as wet as an angry stare. Somewhere on the outskirts is a glass, concrete, and techno art deco mansion, as if built by an architect who dreamed of Bond but was born with extra millions. I parked at the gate, behind which stood 2 security guards in suits that cost more than my annual rent. Passed the biometric scanner. They asked for a name. I said, Alex Riley, detective. Not private, just different. I was ushered into the lobby. It smelled of vintage whiskey, electronic musk, and menace disguised as welcome. The second floor has a terrace like a cyberpunk villain. Downstairs, guests, glossy, tanned, retro filtered, investors, collectors, two actors from television series, and one influencer who didn't take off his glasses even at night. Glad you could make it, said Mary Vandeline, the owner of the house. Formerly a socialite, now a curator of crypto collections and owner of the most expensive earrings in London. I have 4 objects missing, she said. Jewelry, unique, biometric locks, no alarms, just no. And you think one of yours? No, she exhaled. I think it's someone I used to love. And I don't want to blame, but I can't keep quiet anymore. That's where I get it. It's not just stealing. It's a trap from the past. She appeared on the stairs. Vera Rusakova, dressed like a night on Mars, hair like a shot from a noir movie. She wasn't walking, she was sliding. Didn't speak, commanded attention. Mr. Riley, she said in a faint accent, you've been warned I can disappear. I nodded. I'm good at finding people, especially those who are no longer hiding but playing. Max came up behind me, now in a hoodie and a tablet, but the eyes are the same, scanning, reading, connecting. I showed you the map, black, no name, just trust. Who gave that? Max wondered. No one. It's just that I know how to ask in a way that makes doors open themselves. Behind the massive door is the server room. Hundreds of light bulbs blinked like stars if they had anxiety syndrome. The cold, and a silence in which even my own breathing feels like an unauthorized intrusion. Max tapped into the terminal, fingers on the keys like a pianist on a lie detector. Here they are, the logs, he muttered. Who came in when, who activated the safe, who touched the access system. There's a list on the screen. At 10:13 p.m., someone opened the door to the gallery where the jewelry was stored. But the log's been tampered with. The activity chain copied from another day. Someone has erased their trail, Max said. But not all of it. How's that? He turned the screen. The logic of the algorithm is perfect. But this delay? Right here. 6 seconds. Pause and an extra line. Not deleted, not noticed. 6 seconds is like a rustle on an old tape. He doesn't say anything, but you know someone was walking past the camera. Let's go. We went up to the second floor, to the gallery. I asked security to get the tape out. Camera 8, 22:13分. Empty hallway, 22:14分. A shadow, a glimpse, but only in the reflection in the glass. Stop, I said. Zoom in. Max zoomed in. It's blurry, but a silhouette. Female, tall. Is that her? He asked. I nodded, but not Faith. The other one. The one who was on the guest list under the name Alice Delvin. But here's the problem. None of the guards remembered her entering the mansion. A ghost? Max asked. Or someone who knows how to walk in without opening doors. We turned to leave, and at that moment the lights went out. Just for a second. Just one. But when he came back, The terminal was already rebooted, and the writing on the screen changed. "You're late, detective." Chapter 3. Alibis, accents, and the thing you can't buy. It was too quiet in the living room, like the kind of silence that only comes after an explosion or before a confession. Vera Rusakova sat on the couch as if it were her mansion and she was only letting us ask questions because she was bored. Max set the clipboard on the table. "The camera footage. That's the one. The one with the reflection." I stood at the window. The darkness of the street reflected our work, the light in the window and the pile of questions. "You didn't go into the gallery?" I asked. Vera leaned over. She had a glass of white wine in her hands. It glistened like her ring. "I was coming into myself. In the morning, I looked at the ring. I thought, what if it was gone? Who would recognize me? On the trail," she smiled. "What if I don't leave a trail? Then you leave an impression. It's worse." Max flipped the clipboard over. "There's a shadow. Are you?" "I wear heels, yes, but this woman walks like a wolf. I'm a fox. I'm quiet." "Do you have an alibi?" I asked. Of course. At the time, I was sitting in the smoking room with Remy, this French critic. We were discussing that it's cheaper to make an audience cry than to make them sympathize. Will he confirm? He doesn't remember anything. He drank absinthe and read poetry. But I was there. Max sighed. "Oh, great. We have an alibi without witnesses, a shadow without a face, and a theft without meaning." I sat down next to her. I looked at her. "Vera, let's be honest. Have you been to Lion in 2017? Her smile turned icy. "Have you read the old files? I look where AI doesn't look." She exhaled. "I am not a thief. I'm a memory. People steal and then ask me to remind them what was important." "What about you?" "I only take things that would be gone anyway." The mansion was as alive as a nervous system. There were no creaking floors here. There were whispering panels that listened to everyone. Max went to the server room, and I stayed behind, alone, in a hallway that smelled of expensive wood and other people's decisions. I turned left to where the portraits hung. Men in ties, women in pearls, children who already knew that wealth was not a choice, but a responsibility to be boring. At the end is the library. The door is ajar. The light is dim. I'm in. There was a Faulkner on the shelf, but with a Mark Twain cover. I pulled the book, and the lock clicked. On a shelf, behind a false wall, is a safe. Old, mechanical. As if on purpose to avoid attracting the attention of those accustomed to biometrics. The code was simple. The date on the sign at the entrance is the 19th of August 2002. Hardly a coincidence. Snap. It's not gold on the inside. Letter, yellowed, and a photograph. Letter. For R, if you suddenly decide to play hero again, I warned you. Once. I won't do it again. You think you're catching the past. In fact, it keeps you on a leash. The signature is illegible, but the ink is scarlet. The handwriting is familiar. Photo. 3 people. I'm in the middle. On the left is Vera. There's a guy on the right, dark glasses, smile. I don't remember the name, but I remember the feeling. He disappeared in Lion. He never came back. I stood in silence. as if everything around me had frozen. "Did you find it?" Max asked from over his shoulder. I didn't turn around. Yeah. And something more. What? I turned the photo around. Us. Before we were the ones watching. Max sat down next to him. He took the letter. "Is that for you from her?" "Maybe. Or from someone closer than I thought." He hesitated for a moment. "So someone knew you were coming. They didn't leave a clue. They left a reminder." "About what?" I sighed. "That this isn't about theft or even murder. And the fact that we're all here because we've all been wrong once before." Chapter 5. The Voice That Shouldn't Be Heard. Night. The kind that even the wind doesn't blow in, as if it doesn't want to interfere. Max was asleep somewhere upstairs, covered in clipboards and charts. I didn't sleep. I was on the couch in the security room. Not because it was comfortable, because it was closer to the screens. Around 3:12, camera number 6 blinked out. Yard. Rustle. The alarm, it didn't go off. There's a silhouette on the screen. Women's floor-length coat. And an umbrella. Who walks around with an umbrella on private property when it's not raining? I stood up, passed by the stairs. Quiet, like a memory you don't want to wake up. Reached the north corridor. There's a door to the terrace. Half open. I'm out. The night smelled of pine trees, expensive perfume, and someone still around. Alex. Voice. Behind. I turned around. Faith? No one. "Alex," it said again, but with an echo. From the speaker. "Security camera." Someone recorded the voice and put it in the system. I rushed back. On the terminal, a new folder. It was called Tidings. Opened. Single file. Audio. Name Forensi 2016. I pressed play. You think you see who's to blame, but in these cases, you're not looking at the suspect. You're looking in the mirror. "Shit," Max whispered, appearing behind me. "This isn't just handwriting. It's someone who knows how you think. It's someone who knows who I was before I was me." We were silent. On the screen, the image froze. The picture blinked out. And for a second, just one, a face appeared in the corner. Blurry. But I recognized it. He's been dead since 2016. Chapter 6. Florence. The Shadow That Remained. Florence. August 2016. The city breathed art, heat, and wine. I was here on what seemed like a small case. Theft from an antique boutique collection. But behind the glitter of the figurines lurked something darker. Her name was Nicole, French restorationist. Fragile, with a voice that sounded like a piano in smoke. She wasn't stealing, she was guiding. She knew who, where, and for how much. And one time she said, "Riley, you're smart, but you're playing on the wrong side." Why? Because you seek justice and you work with those who fear it. I didn't realize it at the time. And then there was a murder. Gallery curator, killed by a gunshot to the back of the head. And next to it is that statue, not missing, back, but already like a signature. The suspect is Franco Marini, artist, ex, mentally unstable, and, on paper, Nicole's ex-lover. He's gone, disappeared from the security camera right in front of my eyes, physically vaporized. And 3 days later, Nicole sent me a picture. Me? It shows me standing outside the Duomo. And a signature. Rye, you only see half. I've always seen all of you. 2024. Back to the mansion. I was standing at the window. The photo was still in my hand. It was in the records folder. It's like someone's compiled a dossier on me. Riley, Max called out. There's something else. What? A request in the system, in your name. From the intranet? Who? He showed the IP, device inside the house. I closed the photo. Started looking at the mansion as something other than a crime scene. It's like a prison cell from which someone is watching us. We're in a game we didn't start, I said. Who? Max asked. I looked toward the empty terrace, where it was raining rain that wasn't the one who remains nameless. Someone who was behind the scenes. The one who has now decided to come out in the credits. 3:47. The mansion is asleep, but I'm not. Max is beside me. His face glows with light from the tablet, like an ancient battery-powered prophecy. The camera on the second floor is deaf, he said. The signal's gone. When? 3 minutes ago, we went up a corridor by the gallery. The lights are blinking. On the left is the door to Vera Rusakova's room. It's ajar. Vera, I called out. There was no response. I'm in. Inside, order. But he was too much. The bed is untouched. The suitcase is gone. The phone is abandoned. There's a note on the pillow, written in lipstick. I'm not running, I'm moving faster. If you catch up, you're ready. If not, you're a spectator. And I don't work for the gym. Max ran in. What? I showed the note. He silently reread it. Gone? No, I said. She cleaned up after herself, which means she's still around, or waiting for us to take the next step. We went back to the security room. I scrolled through the cameras. Camera 4, courtyard, 3:38, flash of light. 1 second. There's a face on the screen. A guy, young, eyes bright, blood on his shirt. He's looking directly into the camera. Who is it? Max asked. I don't know. It can't be. Cameras were active. Security's in place. How did he get in? I zoomed in. There's a pendant around her neck. It's glass. Inside, there's something spinning, almost imperceptible. And there's a line at the bottom of the screen. It's as if the camera is talking. Don't look for the one who came in. Look for the one who never left. Max let out a curse. It's not a threat. No, I said. It's an invitation. At the same time, I noticed another thing. A new folder appeared in the corner of the system. Title, witness.mp4. Open up, I said. And we pressed. On the screen is a night shot. The room, where it all began, where the jewelry went missing. There's a woman in the chair. Young, sloppy hair, hands shaking. Says, I saw him, the way he came in, not through the door, through the panel, from the back. He knew the code. Max froze. Who's that? I brought it closer. That's not a guest, it's staff. She continued. He didn't steal, he put it down. Something inside, in the safe. And then he said, Riley will still find it, but he won't believe it. And at that moment, a silhouette appeared on the video. It's that guy again. He leaned toward the camera, and he said, Hey Alex, 4:15. The mansion breathes wilderness. But now I know there's more than one guest here who wasn't invited. This is the basement, Max said. The signal point from the camera. He's down there somewhere, and he's waiting. We're down. The walls are concrete, but not damp. The ventilation is old, but it's on. There is dust on the floor, like the pages of a book no one has opened. But in one place, there was no dust. Max, flashlight. He shone the light. There's a stain on the wall. A square, barely visible. Border. I pressed it. It won't budge. I hit it. Nothing. He's a fake. I pulled a screwdriver out of my pocket. Habit. After a moment, the panel shifted. Behind her is the stash, but not empty. Inside is a case. Black, metal, with a code. There's a card next to it. The code is the date you lost faith. R. I froze. Max is silent because he knows there are days I don't talk about, not even to myself. Try it, he whispered. It's personal, damn it. It's all for you. I closed my eyes. He's not just a killer. He's an archive. He remembers everything I've tried to forget. We went down, but not to the people. We went down to the records. There are new files in the security room. There's a tablet on the table. Video number 14, taken from a camera that wasn't there. The angle is from inside Riley's office. Date, 3 hours ago. That's Max in the video, sitting, writing something. The room is silent. A silhouette appears behind him. It's coming up, looks, doesn't speak, just leaves a letter and walks away. I rewound it. I stopped it. Max, did you see him? Number I was alone. I held out the tablet to him. He turned pale. He was behind me. I didn't hear it. We found a letter. It was in the drawer. Max, you're the last one. If Riley lies to you, you'll know. He looked at me. Is there something you're not telling me? I paused. No, I lied. And immediately I felt it. Betrayal always sounds quieter than the truth. A name that hasn't been heard since 1997. 505. Mansion. Soon it will be dawn. But not the day was coming. But the pause before the shot, the house fell silent. Even Max was silent. He sat holding the letter. And I held myself, hastily, like those who can't be held. We decided to go back to where the night started, to the room where Vera was lying, or rather where she wasn't lying. The room was empty, but there's a book on the table, not just left behind, unfolded. The psychology of serial behavior, empathy as a weapon. Max raised an eyebrow. Is that a hint? It's inviting, I said. There was a stash in the closet. The bottom was sliding out. There's only one thing inside. Folder. The cover is stamped RK Confidential. I froze. Max asked, Is that... I nodded. It's my first case, or rather, it's not a case. It's him. I opened the folder. Name, Raymond Keir. Year of birth, 1983. Admission to the clinic, 1997. Status, closed surveillance. Observer, a practicum student. Name is Alexander Riley. Max Ahed. Is that you? Yeah, I was in my 20s. I was kinder. And he looked at me like no one ever had, not as a patient, as someone who knows you're going to betray him. There's a drawing in the folder. It's a child's. There's a man on it, no face. There's a sign in his hand. A is for Alex. I sat down. He was the first to say that letters could be a sentence. Max was silent. And you think he's back? I shook my head. I don't think he ever left. We went out into the hallway. And there stood Faith. Alive, whole, in the shadows. Were you looking for me? She asked calmly. Where have you been? Max asked. I didn't leave. I was watching. Why? She looked at me. To realize who you are now. And she handed me a letter. You left me in 1997. And now I leave you in 2024. RK. Max clenched his fist. It's him. It's definitely him. I remained silent. Because he knew the name Raymond came back for a reason. 539. Mansion. The streets are quiet, but not calm. And one where the anxiety is already curled up, waiting for you to find it yourself. Max and I were standing at the window. It was starting to get light, but the house didn't wake up. He, like us, was waiting. At that moment, the phone rang. Not a cell phone. Old, stationary, in the office where the library used to be. I picked up the phone. Riley? The voice was electronic. But there was breathing, which means it's not a recording. Who are you? Do you remember what you said to him in 1997? I froze. You said, some people are too smart to be happy. That was a long time ago. And he remembered, because you were the first person to call him smart. At that moment, a noise crashed into the line, and the voice changed. Alex, it was Max. But not here, not next to me. It's in the tube. Max? It's a trap. I'm in the house, but I'm in the other wing. He locked me in. I looked back. Max was standing next to him. I looked at him. He looked at me. Alex, he said in a voice that wasn't there anymore. The one next to me smiled and disappeared. Just gone. I ran down the stairs. I ran as I had run then in 97 down the corridor of the clinic, where he whispered, "You won't make it." Reached the door to the south wing. It's locked. Code lock. On the screen is an inscription. Your code is the last letter. The last letter, I whispered. The alphabet. He was walking on it, which means Z. I typed Z. The lock clicked. Behind the door is a staircase down. There's footprints on the floor. Blood. Paper. One card. Z is not the end. Z is the truth. Load-in. The basement. Last door. I went in slowly. Not out of fear. Out of respect for the moment. The room was dark. Only in the corner was light. A projector. The writing is on the wall. You thought Z is for the end, but Z was always for you. Max was sitting on a chair, tied up. His face was tired, but alive. Alex, he exhaled. He knew everything. He'd been here all along. I went over. I released him. We both looked toward the wall. The projector clicked on. There's a face on the screen. Raymond, an adult, straight to the camera. Alex, you still don't get it. You weren't A. That's not what this is about. Then who? You were Z, always. The last one, the one who sees everything. Who doesn't come first? And when everyone else is gone, he grinned. I was waiting for you to guess, but you wanted to be a detective all along. And you had to be a human being. Camera goes out, the lights come back on, and in the corner is a wall of letters, A through Y, all crossed out. 1Z is lit in red. It's you, Max whispered. I walked over, and on the wall is my portrait, Polaroid, signed, Z is for the one who finishes the sentence. I took it off, and he said, then let me finish it. I called police, FBI, everyone we could. I told you everything. The night is over. 7:15, mansion, day. Everything looked decent again, but the house already knew. There was history in it. And she stayed. Max sat next to him. I was smoking. For the first time in a long time, not to think. Just because I'm alive. He looked at me. What's up, Z? I smiled. Don't tell anyone. Let them think it's alphabetical. End or just the beginning. He handed me a sheet, an old file, photocopy, newspaper clipping, headline, Young witness disappears after acquittal in family murder case. And a photo, black and white, a boy, eyes like knives. Is that him? Max asked, appearing behind me. Maybe. I don't recognize the face. But the handwriting, I recognize the handwriting on every note at a crime scene. I didn't get a chance to say anything. The alarm went off. There was a commotion on the lower deck. Panic. Someone was screaming. They opened the safe. Weapons are gone. We rushed downstairs. The safe was indeed broken into. One gun, gone. All that's left is the paperwork. There's a card on the floor, a playing card, Jack of Hearts. It has writing on it, J for Justice, yours Arkansas. Max turned pale. It's your initials. I clenched my teeth because I realized the killer wasn't just playing around. He brings me to the stage. He wants me to realize that the ending is mine, or his, but not someone else's. We gathered everyone in the saloon. The ship has stopped. The crew is under control. All passengers are in range. He's the only one left. The ghost, a shadow, a boy from the past. Fabian stood in front of them. He spoke softly, but every word was like blow on glass. One of you kills, not out of fear. It's out of habit, not out of jealousy, but out of a sense of duty. Pause. He looked at me. Riley, this man is not just a killer. He's your double. He's doing what you wouldn't let yourself do. He's avenging the world that refused to hear him. And now he's forcing you all to listen. I realized time was up, and the next step would be my last. It was a cold morning. London, February, gray city, gray coats, gray people. And I'm Alex Riley. Not a detective then, just an investigator in the juvenile department. Too honest to give up and too stubborn to stay out of trouble. The case came in a brown folder. On the cover, there are only initials. RK, a boy of 14. Parents found dead. Stabbed. No sign of forced entry. He was at home. The only survivor. He said he was asleep. The name, I remembered it right away. Not because of the sound, it was the look. He didn't cry. He didn't tremble. He didn't defend himself. He looked at us as if he had already seen it all. The trial, psychologists, prison, the escape. And the silence afterward, I couldn't prove his guilt at the time. All the evidence was circumstantial. He didn't snap. He didn't give up. He memorized his role by heart. We didn't find a weapon, no motive. Just a strange note in his notebook. Pain is what binds. Without pain, they'd still be gone. A psychologist diagnosed him as sociopathic but not dangerous. The court released him. Custody. 2 months later, he disappeared. Disappeared from all the databases, all the archives, like he'd vanished. But I knew they don't disappear. They come back. When you're least prepared. Now, in 2025, I'm standing aboard a steamship, and I can feel the past catching up with me, because the handwriting in the notes is the same. The wording, the vocabulary, the cold poetry of revenge. I pulled an old photo from the archives. I accidentally put it in my wallet before I left. Subconscious or a premonition? Max walked over, silently, looked at the photo. Is that him? I think so, but I can't prove it. The face has changed, but the eyes haven't. Max exhaled. If it's him, then everything on board is his stage and we're his audience. I press my lips together. Not just the audience. One of us is a hero. One of us is the anti-hero. It's just a question of who's going to outplay who. And somewhere in the darkness of the ship, among the shadows and gold, he, that same boy, was already preparing to take the next step. Chapter 12. When everything becomes a mirror, coming back to the present was like a slap in the face. It was sharp, wet, and smelled of salt air. I stood on the stern, smoking, and staring at the reflection in the window. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't recognize myself. Max was there, didn't speak, just stood there. He knew when silence was the best way to be supportive. I know who he is, I said at last, but I don't know how to find him. He became someone else, but he's still himself. Max nodded. He's doing everything he can to make you remember, to make you feel. He doesn't just kill, he brings it back. We went to a meeting at the salon. This time on my initiative, I wanted to see the faces, their reactions, their masks. Everyone was there. Pennington is as sweaty as an accountant before an audit. Miss Bowers, tense, hands folded as if praying. Rosalie is angry, tired. Jacqueline is washed, sober, a face like after confession, but not forgiven. Simon is grim, his arm is bandaged. The look is that of a man who no longer plays.